Flip the Clown, and we're about to talk about the weird, wild, addictive world of professional wrestling. So before we begin, I have to say this. In the past, I've put a lot of people over, but approximately 1 year ago, I was repackaged, and now I don't do jobs for anyone. With that said, I grew up as a major, colossal professional wrestling fan, and no doubt the magic and mystique of the 1980s and 90s will never be duplicated. The kids today will never experience what we experienced back in that era, and it's sad. And even sadder is that a lot of these superheroes, these mortal immortals I grew up watching, have passed away over the years. And every time it happens, it's like a piece of my childhood dying. And some of the guys who are still alive are, well, to be candid, a freaking mess. Former WWF champion the Iron Sheik, for example. Many of you have seen the infamous shoot interview with the Sheik where he talks about B. Brian Blair. If you haven't seen it, go to YouTube and search Iron Sheik Goes Nuts, and the clip will come up. In this interview, the Iron Sheik, in very vulgar terms, talks about how at WrestleMania 3 he hated B. Brian Blair so much that he wanted to break his back, make him humble, and do various vile things to his paralyzed body, all in front of a crowd of 93,000 fans in attendance. Spoiler alert, if you enjoyed my recent impersonation of Macho Man Randy Savage, you may be less impressed with my impending rendition of the Iron Sheik. Now, the Sheik never says what exactly happened to make him want to break B. Brian Blair's back. Who knows what infraction warranted this kind of hatred, but ultimately it probably doesn't matter. The bottom line, the Sheik hates him. In this interview, the Sheik calls B. Brian Blair various foul names, various slurs, and over 25 years later, he still hates the man to the point where he's seething. The Sheik says he wanted to break Blair's back, but says in part, I didn't do it in the Pontiac, Michigan, because of respect for my sport and respect for Mr. McMahon. Obviously trying to interject some much-needed sanity. The interviewer notes that the Sheik was a professional, and the Sheik explodes. A professional! Other than was ready to do a dream, old country way, make him humble. And I didn't do it because for God and Jesus and Mr. McMahon. And then he was lucky I had such a Duggan come save him, and I didn't break his back. At which time he asked the interviewer, you know what I'm talking about? And the guy humorously replies, right. As if he's actually thought about breaking someone's back before and had somebody stop him in a script fight. At the end of this curse-laden, homophobic, violent rant, seemingly regretting the fact that he didn't break B. Brian Blair's back in front of almost 100,000 people in the arena and millions watching the pay-per-view at home, the Sheik closes saying, and besides that, everything was great. Now, I won't discuss how the Sheik seems to be skewing a real-life grudge into the machinations of a work match, or how he seems to compare God and Jesus with Vince McMahon. What I want to discuss is that last line. It's very important. The Sheik says, and besides that, everything was great. Let's analyze this for a second. The Sheik is so mad that he wants to break B. Brian Blair's back. He wants to make him humble. He's so irate. He wants to cripple this man in front of countless children in the audience, scarring them for life. The Sheik wants to put Blair in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, ruining his ability to function like a normal human being, ruining his family's life in the process. And at the end of this violent, foul regret session, that he in fact didn't break B. Brian Blair's back, the Sheik goes, and besides that, everything was great. How can everything be great when your mind was debating and plotting breaking another man's back in a cowardly way during a scripted fight, no less? Okay, if the Iron Sheik was so angry, so offended, so livid that he actually considered a plot to paralyze B. Brian Blair, and besides that, everything was great, I'd really hate to be around the Sheik when everything was horrible. Holy Sheik turds, it would be mass murder. And speaking of psychotic episodes, another troubled soul from 1980s wrestling is Tom Billington, a.k.a. the Dynamite Kid, or a better name probably would have been Exploding Dynamite. Check this out. This is the Dynamite Kid's 1987 WWF wrestling card. We all collected these as kids. They probably still smell like bubblegum to an extent. Anyway, the Kid's card reads on the back, quote, package power, that's the Dynamite Kid. He can strike from the mat or from the air with the power of a cannonball, unquote. Teamed with his real-life cousin, the late Davey Boy Smith, as the British Bulldogs, the Kid was probably better known for package power outside the ring than in. Billed as a tag team geared toward kids, the British Bulldogs sold t-shirts, action figures, and stuffed bulldogs to a generation of little wrestling fans. The Bulldogs even appeared in a 1985 episode of the A-Team. But the kid-friendly persona wasn't the real Dynamite Kid. In real life, Billington is known as a notoriously sadistic, evil, monstrous man and a hardcore drug user. Now, in the kid's whitewashed autobiography entitled Pure Dynamite, he skips over his vile personal history, but he does admit doing various drugs, including taking horse steroids that he procured from a local veterinarian. Not found in Dynamite Kid's book, however, are incidents described by Diana Hart in her band autobiography entitled Under the Mat. Diana describes how the kid assisted a friend in perpetrating insurance fraud by breaking the friend's daughter's kneecaps with a mallet. Oh boy, he sounds like a class act. And then there's all the domestic abuse. In his book, Kid says he and his wife Michelle got a divorce because they had, quote, grown apart. But Michelle has detailed horrifying accounts of physical and emotional abuse as a result of Kid's steroid use, including one incident where he held a shotgun to her head for 6 hours, threatening to kill her. After years and years and years of drug abuse and physical abuse to his body, Dynamite's now confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. During a recent CNN interview entitled Death Grip, Dynamite admitted that the whole shotgun incident, as described by Michelle, was completely true. Okay, I'm not even going to attempt to impersonate the Dynamite Kid as I did Macho Man Randy Savage and the Iron Sheik, because quite frankly, the Dynamite Kid's voice is really mumbling and he speaks an almost unintelligible British accent. So I'll just quote him. During that interview with Death Grip, he said, I put a shotgun under her chin once, but I had no shells. I only pretended. Oh, he pretended he wanted to blow his wife's head off as much as he pretended to hurt people in the ring. How apropos. Despite banning references to and discontinuing Chris Benoit toys and products, the WWE ironically continues to produce Iron Sheik and Dynamite Kid action figures. Obviously, killing your family is bad, but threatening to break someone's back or shoot your wife is perfectly fine and action figure worthy. These two gents are the perfect role models to market toward children. Most Dynamite Kid figures come with a little gold tag team title belt or a plastic toy bulldog. And in the past, the package has always read, shotgun not included. But I have great news for WWF action figure collectors everywhere. This new Dynamite Kid figure comes complete with shotgun. Now, I don't know if this shotgun is designed in the actual likeness of the model the Kid used on his wife, and it's obviously not to scale, but none of this stuff freaking matters. Forget flying headbutts and classic rematches with this figure. Just grab Barbie, have Dynamite stuff her in a headlock, stick that shotgun to her head, and you can reenact one of the Dynamite Kid's proudest moments. After this little session, I feel as though we know the Iron Sheik and the Dynamite Kid a little better, don't you? Now grab your old action figures and break someone's back and make them humble. Or just bring the Macho Man Randy Savage into the fray and kick everyone's ass. Ooh!